got this one on phone mic instead of lav, so we can hear the cabinet to the left better. I'm not going to play right now. I have gotten the blanketed highs out of this limited edition 2002 hand-wired AC30. A combination of things. Going to some ceramic discs where appropriate was part of it. And the main issue is if the wire that feeds the reverb is connected either to the wiper of the volume, which feeds the next section as far as the regular circuit goes, or to this bass connection, which is some good degree of resistance away from here, then I can hear the darkening, the blanket. This is going straight to the grid of, in fact, let me pull that tube real quick. Going straight to the grid of V3, which is the reverb driver, and serves as its grid stopper, which is why I needed to power the amp off and pull that tube. Right now I've got that wire disconnected. Don't want to run it without that grid leak on it. Sorry, I have to get a paper towel so I don't burn myself. AT7s get hot. Let me pull that out for a moment. So I have got, the issue is that black wire here that goes to the reverb, that makes the load, it loads down the input, I'm sorry, the output of the circuit a lot. And that goes directly to the grid of the AT7, though in stock form it's an AX7. And that's a little bit odd to me because this whole tone stack is driven by a cathode follower, which should be fairly impervious to such things, but it is not. What I'm going to try to do is, where's the pointer? I'm going to see how this works. This is the input of the tone stack. So the cathode goes here, 56K to ground, goes out to the treble cap, and then it goes through this 100K resistor to these caps. I'm going to try to tack solder, not tack solder, but solder a 500 picofarad cap from here, and then a 1 meg from here to ground, kind of across this 56K, and connect the black wire there, and see if feeding it directly from the cathode follower doesn't load it down as much. I think it's just adding to this load. It gets complicated. Other changes I made, because the amp had a lot of thudding from the bias trim. It had 100 nanofarad and 47 nanofarad. I put in these Mojo Dijon 22s and 47s, which just shaves off the ultra low stuff, and that got rid of most of the thudding from the trim. There's still a little bit if you turn it up at certain settings, but such is life with a bias trim. Much better. I could go down even more than that, but at some point it doesn't behave like an AC30. It may behave better, but it loses a quality. So I've got the amp sounding right now, though I'm still not nuts about the tapers of these two pots. But I need to see how to incorporate the reverb so that it's not glossy. And that does not mean that I need 30 suggestions. Thanks, guys. I'll get it. Oh, I forgot to mention. I won't get it now because I'm right next to the chassis. But a few minutes ago, when I was 4 feet away doing something on my other desk, I was hearing AM radio coming through this. And that's because the inputs come here, and their ground goes to this black wire, which goes to here, which goes around to here, which goes to here, and to here, and then to here, all through this chain. And then over here, and that's where it goes to chassis, all the way over here. So you've got this 1.5 foot or more ground run before the input ground goes to chassis. There are two ways I could do this. I could leave that as is and put an RFI filter in, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this wire from the turret and run it right to this ground lug That's what, 3-4 inches away from where it comes in. And that should block radio frequency stuff. And that's amp 101. I guess they would have charged extra in the limited edition hand wired in 2002 for amp 101 stuff. Well, I'm making baby steps. I've got the grounding issues all sorted out. There's no more radio interference. And that fix actually lowered hum throughout the entire circuit. And I've got the high end back because the reverb's no longer intruding in such a way to load down the previous stage, the following stage. So that's good, but as you just heard, there's a little bit of reverb, even though the reverb's at 0 right now. That's because the wiring that they did, it's all twisted together and bundled together, and we've got some bleed. I'll get rid of that afterwards, now that I know that the underlying circuit is healthy. So I've got all the high end back. And the harmonic response is a lot better. It's honestly not as good as I would expect. And I don't know whether the Schumacher output transformer is just the wrong primary for EL84s. Schumacher is not known for making AC30 transformers. It may be just fine. It may be something else that I've not discovered yet. And it may actually be related to the bleed I mentioned from the reverb, because if there's bleed in that cabling, there's probably some bleed in some other cabling. This amp was not well built or designed, but we're getting there. So I will undo the bleed to and from the reverb, and this temporary divider network that's up in the air is going to be made permanent. Since I'm going from this point here, which is really the cathode of V2, I think V2B, yeah, right here, I think that's just here, and we're going all the way to here. I think with the owner's permission, I'll put in a terminal strip right here to hold those components. And that really fixes the reverb, because then we can have the actual AC30 sound with a lot of nice reverb. And I mean a lot. Right now it's overkill, and that's probably related to the bleed. So I just need to adjust the values of that divider network I have there. Right now, that's way too much, but it tells me my premise is good. And then I can adjust the ratio and get it dialed in just right, and find the cap and resistor values that give me the exact sound I want. Right now it's a little bit lacking in lows. Part of that's just the AC30 circuit, but it's really strong. If I turn it up to about 11 o'clock, let's go up to noon. That's as much as you'd ever really want, and I want to make sure I'm not able to drive it too much. So I need to reduce the incoming gain by about half of what it is now. I'll get there. Amp design is a fun thing, but in the process it's not always pretty or elegant. A lot of times we'll have little tempt-in things like this. Won't be like this next time you see it. But at least I solved the mystery of why this alleged AC30 did not sound at all like an AC30. And we'll get the rest of it going just right after a while.